I'll never forget that sound. That cry changed everything. I had driven for hours that morning, winding up the narrow mountain roads until the city felt like a distant memory. I just needed a break. Away from deadlines, away from noise. I rented a small, isolated cabin near the tree line. No neighbors for miles. Just me, the woods, and the stillness of late spring. By the time I unpacked and made myself a cup of coffee, the sun was already high. I decided to take a short hike to stretch my legs. The trails weren't marked, but I wasn't worried. I'd grown up around forests. I knew how to read the land. It was quiet, too quiet. Birds were strangely absent. Even the wind felt hesitant as it whispered through the tall pines. I stepped carefully along the uneven ground, watching where I placed my feet. Then I heard it, piercing, desperate cry. Sharp, brief, then silence. My chest tightened. I froze for a second, scanning the cliffs above me. Something had fallen. I couldn't see it, but I could feel the urgency in that sound. I started moving uphill, faster than I should have, slipping a few times on loose rocks. My breath came out in short bursts as I climbed toward the edge. When I reached the base of the cliff, I saw it. A small, pale figure crumpled between the boulders. First, I thought it was a dog. Then I got closer. A snow leopard cub. I didn't understand. Snow leopards didn't live this close to human settlements, or so I thought. And yet here it was. Its fur was matted with dirt. A tiny paw twisted at an unnatural angle. Its chest moved, but faintly. I crouched down, my hands hovering just above its fragile body. "Hey, little one," I whispered, as if my voice could make it stay alive a little longer. What was I supposed to do? Leave it here? Nature's course? But something inside me refused. It wasn't just an animal. It was a life fighting to stay. I took off my jacket and carefully wrapped the cub inside, trying not to jostle it too much. It whimpered softly, its eyes half closed. The weight of it felt both light and terrifying in my arms. Getting back down the slope was harder with the cub pressed to my chest. Every step I took, I felt the cliffs watching me, the sky pressing down, like something unseen was judging me. When I reached the cabin, I laid the cub gently on an old blanket near the fireplace. I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't a vet. I barely knew how to help a stray cat, let alone a wild leopard. But I couldn't just stand there. I boiled some water, soaked a cloth, and cleaned the dirt from its face. Its breathing was shallow. The paw was definitely broken. Maybe internal injuries too. I sat down on the floor beside it, feeling helpless. What if I'd made a mistake? What if its mother was nearby, searching? Would she find the scent? Would she come for it? Would she come for me? The sun began to set outside, casting long shadows across the floorboards. The cabin felt smaller now. The walls seemed closer. The cub stirred, letting out a faint sound. A sound that cracked my heart in two. I promised myself I'd keep it safe. Just until morning. Just until I figured out what to do. As night wrapped around the cabin, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. That something was already out there, watching. The night stretched endlessly. Couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that tiny body lying between the rocks. I heard that cry again. I kept checking on the cub every few minutes, afraid it might stop breathing. It was barely moving now. Its chest rose and fell so slowly, like the weight of the world pressed against it. I didn't know if it was pain or exhaustion, or both. I felt powerless. I sat beside it, stroking its soft fur gently, whispering things I wasn't sure it could hear. "You're gonna be okay, little one. I promise." But deep down, I wasn't sure I believed myself. Around midnight, I stepped outside to get some air. The cold bit into my skin. The woods were unnervingly quiet. Too quiet. Even the insects had stopped. Then, from somewhere deep in the trees, a low rumble. Almost like a growl. Then silence again. I scanned the darkness, my heart racing. Nothing moved, but something was there. I could feel it. I locked the door behind me and went back inside. The cub stirred weakly. Its eyes fluttered open for a moment. I placed a shallow bowl of water near its mouth, hoping it might drink. It didn't. Morning felt like it would never come. When the first light finally crept through the curtains, I heard a knock at the door. "Hey, anyone in there?" It was John, the local ranger. I opened the door, trying to act casual, but his eyes immediately fell on the blanket near the fireplace. "What the hell is that?" he asked, stepping inside. I hesitated. "It's a snow leopard cub. I found it yesterday." It fell off the cliff. He stared at me for a long moment, then shook his head. You realize what you've done, right? I frowned. I saved it. He sighed deeply. No, you brought it into your house. Its mother's probably out there, looking for it. She's dangerous. She'll come here. I looked down at the cub, feeling a mix of guilt and stubbornness. I couldn't just leave it there to die. John rubbed his face. I get it, but you can't keep it. You're not equipped for this. And if the mother catches your scent on it, she might not stop at the door. I swallowed hard. What should I do then? Best thing? Take it back. Leave it somewhere she can find it. Before she finds you. I didn't answer. My chest felt tight. I didn't want to let it go. Felt wrong. But keeping it, maybe that was wrong too. John looked at me with something between frustration and concern. You're playing with fire here, man. I'll check in later. Think about it. He left, slamming the door behind him. I sat back down on the floor. The cub whimpered softly, curling deeper into the blanket. What if she wasn't looking for it? What if she had more cubs and had already moved on? Or worse, what if she'd been injured too? What if I was its only chance? The sun climbed higher. I paced the room. Every sound outside made me tense. Branches snapping, leaves rustling. My eyes kept flicking to the windows. Afternoon faded into evening. The light grew softer. Shadows lengthened. Then, just as the sky turned a deep orange, I heard it. A low, throaty growl. Closer this time. My heart pounded in my ears. I turned off the lights, peered through the curtains. Nothing. But the growl came again, right outside the door. I stepped back. The cub whimpered loudly. Then a heavy, deliberate breath against the door. I stood frozen, every instinct screaming not to move. The breath came again. Slow, deep, heavy. And then, silence. I took a shaky step forward, placed my hand on the doorknob, turned it, opened the door, and saw two glowing eyes staring back at me from the dark. She stood there, tall, silent, her pale coat almost glowing under the moonlight. The mother snow leopard. For a long moment, we stared at each other across the threshold. Neither of us moved. Her glowing eyes locked onto mine, unblinking, unreadable. The cub whimpered softly behind me. She took a slow step forward. My breath caught in my throat. Every instinct told me to close the door, to back away. But I didn't. Something deeper held me still. A quiet understanding. I know why you're here, I whispered. Another step. Her massive paws barely made a sound against the porch. But she didn't cross the doorway. She stopped, waited. Behind me, the cub let out a faint cry. Her ears twitched, her muscles tensed. I crouched slowly, never breaking eye contact. I could feel her watching my every move. I picked up the cub, cradling it gently against my chest. Her gaze softened just slightly, but my hands trembled. What do? I asked the silence. Morning came gray and heavy. The leopard was gone when the sun rose, but her prints circled the cabin again and again in the dirt. She hadn't left far. I knew she'd be back. John arrived just after sunrise, knocking hard. She was here, wasn't she? He asked as soon as I opened the door. I nodded. She's gonna keep coming. You need to make a choice. He stepped inside, glancing at the cub still curled in the blanket. She wants her cub back, he said firmly. I looked down. What if she doesn't know how to take care of it anymore? What if she abandons it again? John shook his head. That's not how it works. You're thinking like a human. She knows. She's waiting for a chance to get it back safely. I sat down heavily. I can't just leave it out there. It's helpless. John sighed, rubbing his neck. You've already helped it more than most people would. But keeping it? That's not saving it. That's stealing it. Those words hit hard. I stared at the tiny creature, torn between love and responsibility. Leave it by the forest edge, John said. She'll find it. That's the best chance it has. I nodded slowly, but in my chest a stubborn ache grew. When John left, I paced the cabin for hours. Every time I looked at the cub, something inside me tightened. I'd already imagined raising it, teaching it, protecting it. I wasn't ready to let that go. By afternoon, I wrapped it again in my jacket and stood by the door. My hand hovered over the handle. Then, a loud crash outside. I jumped back. Something or someone was moving through the woods. Fast, heavy footsteps. Then voices. Over here. Tracks. My blood ran cold. I peeked through the curtains. 3 men. rifles slung over their shoulders. Braconiers. One pointed toward the cabin. Bet he's hiding it in there. My stomach twisted. They were here for the cub. Another voice, closer. Let's go check. I locked the door. My heart pounded so loud I thought they could hear it. A fist slammed against the wood. Hey, open up. I backed away, clutching the cub tighter. Another bang. Harder this time. The door rattled in its frame. Open up or we'll break it down. I grabbed a kitchen knife, my hands slick with sweat. A shot rang out outside. A warning? A threat? Then another fist hit the door. And I knew. This wasn't just about a cub anymore. When I heard the next shot, closer, sharper, I realized it had gone too far. The shot echoed so close it rattled the window. I pressed my back against the wall, clutching the cub tighter. My mind raced. I couldn't stay here. They'd break down the door any second. Another voice barked outside. We know you've got it. Hand it over. My chest heaved. I looked down at the cub. Its eyes blinked up at me, weak but alive. I had to move. I grabbed my backpack, shoving in a water bottle and a flashlight. I wrapped the cub tighter in my jacket, holding it close. My heart pounded in my ears as I unlocked the back door. Quietly, slowly, a loud crash from the front. They were kicking the door. I slipped out the back. Cold air hit my face. The woods loomed dark and dense. I didn't think. I ran. Branches whipped my arms. Rocks slid beneath my boots. Behind me, shouts erupted as they realized I'd escaped. Back here. He's running. A gunshot cracked through the night. Bark splintered from a tree near my shoulder. I ducked low, weaving between trunks, heart hammering. The cub whimpered softly against my chest. Another shot. Closer. I pushed harder. My legs burned. My lungs screamed. Then, a flashlight beam swept across the trees ahead. John. Here, he called. Over here. I stumbled toward him. He grabbed my arm, pulling me behind a fallen log. What the hell's happening? He hissed. They're after the cub, I gasped. They're armed. He cursed under his breath. We gotta lose them. Follow me. We moved fast, weaving through narrow paths only he seemed to know. Behind us, voices shouted. Lights flickered between trees. John led me down a steep ravine. We slid into a hollow beneath an overhang. Stay quiet, he whispered. Footsteps crunched above us. Then silence. I held my breath. Minutes dragged by. Finally, the sounds faded. John exhaled slowly. We're safe for now. I looked down at the cub. His breathing was ragged. John frowned. It's not gonna make it if we keep running like this. I swallowed. We can't stop. They'll find us. A soft growl came from the shadows. We turned. There, at the edge of the hollow, stood the mother. Her coat shimmered faintly in the moonlight. Her head low, her amber eyes fixed on the bundle in my arms. John raised his rifle slightly. Don't move. No, I said, lowering his barrel. She's not here to attack. The mother took a step closer. Then another. I stepped forward too. Slowly. John grabbed my arm. What the hell are you doing? She's hurt, I whispered. In the dim light, I saw it. A dark stain on her flank. Blood. She limped forward, her breathing labored. She needs help, I said. John's voice was hard. You can't help a wild animal like that. She's dangerous. I looked down at the cub, then back at her. She's a mother. I stepped closer. John hissed. You're gonna get yourself killed. Maybe he was right. But in that moment, I knew what I had to do. I knelt down. I placed the cub gently on the ground between us. The mother froze, watching. Then slowly, she limped forward, sniffed the cub, nudged it softly with her nose. A sound escaped her throat, half growl, half purr. John watched in disbelief. She turned her gaze to me, held it, and in that silent exchange, something passed between us. An understanding, a truce. Then a branch snapped behind us. A flashlight beam, voices. They're here. A shot rang out. I threw my arms wide, standing between the hunters and the leopards. I knew I could die, I thought, but I did it anyway. The shot tore through the night. I felt the wind of it pass my ear. I stood my ground, arms wide, heart pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. Behind me, the mother leopard pressed close to her cub, shielding it. John crouched beside me, rifle raised but not aimed. Back off, one of the hunters yelled. That cat's ours. No, I shouted back. She's leaving. You don't have to do this. Another gun lifted. Step aside. I won't. My voice cracked but didn't waver. I wasn't going to let them get closer. John muttered under his breath. Help's coming. Just stall them. The leopard let out a low growl behind me. I felt her muscles tense. She was ready to fight. Please. I called again, my voice softer now. Let them go. But the hunters weren't listening. Another shot fired. This one closer. I flinched as bark exploded from a tree beside me. Stay down, John yelled, pulling me to the side. But I pulled free. The mother hissed, stepping protectively in front of her cub. They're not attacking, I shouted. They just want to go home. The hunter leveled his rifle and fired. Pain ripped through my side. I staggered, collapsing to my knees. Warmth spread under my shirt. No! John's voice thundered. He fired back, aiming high warning shots. The hunters cursed, ducking behind trees. John grabbed my arm, dragging me behind a boulder. Stay with me, kid. Stay awake. I pressed my hand to the wound, gritting my teeth. The world tilted. The leopard let out a deep, mournful cry. Then, with a final glance at me, she grabbed the cub gently by the scruff and vanished into the shadows. Go, I whispered after her. Be safe. Sirens echoed faintly in the distance. The hunters scrambled back as red and blue lights flickered through the trees. Voices shouted. Orders barked. John kept pressure on my wound. Hang on. They're here. Blackness pulled at the edges of my vision. The last thing I saw was the moon, pale and full, above the treetops. I woke to beeping. White walls. A hospital room. John sat beside the bed, sipping stale coffee. Welcome back, he said softly. I tried to speak. My throat was dry. They caught them, John continued. Every last one. Won't be bothering these woods again. I exhaled shakily. The leopard. He hesitated. Gone. No sign of them. Rangers tracked for days. Nothing. My chest ached, not just from the wound. They're smart, he added. They'll survive. I closed my eyes, picturing her face. Those eyes. A month later, I stood at the edge of the woods. The cabin was quiet now, repaired, empty. The morning was cool. Dew clung to the grass. I walked toward the treeline, where the earth softened. That's when I saw them. Tracks. Large, round prints beside smaller ones. Perfectly preserved in the mud. My heart caught in my throat. And then, between the trees' movement, I froze. There he was. No longer a cub. Stronger now. Taller. His pale coat glimmered in the dappled light. He stood still, watching me. Unmoving. Unafraid. For a long, breathless moment, we stared at each other across the distance. Then he turned and disappeared into the forest. I stood alone again, but I smiled. I never found out why he came back, I said quietly. But I know this story isn't over.